Ciara O'Malley is here with me in my little studio. Well, you're in Ireland. What
Yeah.
part of Ireland are you sitting
So
in?
I'm in Mayo, so it's on the west coast. So it's
Oh,
very beautiful here. I know lots of Aussies want to go to Ireland. It's fab.
yes, we all want to go there.
Yeah.
Next year, I'm planning,
Okay.
definitely.
Oh, amazing. I'll have to show you around if I'm here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please. And I'm in Tassie, in Launceston. Did you visit Tasmania when you were here in
No, I
Australia?
never got to Tassie. I was
Oh,
going before I kind of was due to come back here for a visit, but it was getting cooler there, so I decided to go up to Queensland instead. I was following
that
the
makes a lot of
sun.
sense.
Yeah.
Why would you want to stay down in cold Tasmania when you can go to
Oh, but it
Queensland?
looks beautiful. Like I'd say it's a very special place, is it?
It is. A lot of people say it reminds them of, well, Wales and England
Okay.
and Ireland.
Wow.
We've got the
Yeah.
rolling green hills, the snow-covered mountains,
Wow.
all
Yeah.
the sheep grazing. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Still on the
Okay,
list.
okay. Yes. And I met Kira at Unity Camp in Central Australia at Uluru. So that is where we first connected. And I did not know your whole story. I guess we didn't, there were so many women, we didn't get a
Yeah.
chance to share everything about ourselves. And so I actually invited you to come and talk on the podcast because I just knew you had such a special story, but I did not know
Mm.
what it
Yeah.
was. It's only since asking you to come on that I've read a bit more about your experience with grief and losing your beautiful partner. And yes, so I'm so honored that Ciara O'Malley has agreed to come and share her heartfelt story of love and loss and moving through that to hope and even joy
Yes. Yeah.
because
Lots
you're
of
a joyful
joy. Yeah.
person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So you have released a book,
Yes. Yeah. I
Miracles
actually have
Appear
it
with
here.
Loved Ones. And have you got it there? Yes. Is that a dragonfly in the front?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Dragonflies are very, very symbolic. And I suppose for me, I wanted to make sure there was lots of light coming out, like out of the dragonfly. Um,
Yeah.
because dragonflies was a big sign that David would have sent me. And I suppose it was the dragonfly that actually got me into kind of connecting or looking into, oh, maybe Dave is trying to connect with me and show me he's okay. And I've a dragonfly tattoo as well. Yeah, and two little stars. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, it was the dragonfly that kind of brought me on this little journey. David's was involved in a drowning accident, and we were living in Canada at the time. And his body was missing. So he had gone to a football match. We had moved from Ireland to Vancouver. And we had been living there for 5 months, having the absolute time of our life. It was amazing. Like it was so good. And I got a call to say he was involved in a drowning accident. So obviously I got on the road, I got up there, and I've always been quite an optimistic person, even when I was younger. And I remember just being like, everything's grand, it's fine. He's probably just swam off somewhere, he's fine. I honest to God, I believe that. And then when we got to the lake, I suppose the conditions, I knew my body knew it was like, this is not, but still, our mind is a powerful thing. And I still was like, no, it's fine. He's over at an island. The lake we were dealing with was like, I suppose, from being from Ireland, this was like, we used to call it like a monster off a lake. It was massive. It was just the conditions, like we knew nothing. Um, and a few days into searching for David, and we were so blessed. Like we had the support we had from all over the world was unbelievable. We had people donate money to help us we had search dogs, we had robots under the water. Like, it actually, sometimes when I think about it, I'm like, it was like a film. And I remember just trying to cling on to this hope, like, no, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And it was one day that where he jumped in, and he was with the lads. I suppose it's important to emphasize that it was a hot day and they were cooling off. They were on the way to the tournament, having a bit of crack. He loved that. He was a real adrenaline junkie, like loved the football, loved adrenaline, just loved the crack, like the fun. But unfortunately, the current in the water pulled him under. So I was up on the bridge with David's sister, obviously heartbroken. At those few days, I felt feelings in my body I had never, ever felt before, like ever. I remember being like, oh my God, it just was like, oh, even thinking back now, it's like, oh, it was just hard to put words on. But we were standing at the bridge and we were looking out onto the water, and there was this dragonfly. And I remember really looking at it, and David's sister was with me, and it just stayed with us. And I'm sure, I think in Australia, I've seen a good few dragonflies. Like, dragonflies are quick, like they're really, really, really quick. But this dragonfly stayed, and I had it on a stick. And literally, the dragonfly stayed on the stick and walked with me and David's sister, me with it on a stick, down to where everyone else was at the camp. Like, we had loads of people, yeah, stayed. And I remember being like, oh my goodness. And I went and showed everyone. And to me, I didn't care what anyone else thought. I was like, this is David's way of being like, he's okay, it's all right. And that evening, a couple who came all the way from Idaho to help us, who were the most trained in their field of searching for people in water recovery. They showed me a little quote about dragonflies, and I think it read, dragonflies are angels, are sent down with an extra set of wings from angels to show you they're okay. So that evening I was like Googling dragonflies, and I just had this, and something happened to me, and I found the most beautiful poem. And I actually have it in my book, but it's about the dragonfly and a water beetle. And it's about the water beetle is under the water, and the water beetle keeps telling its friends, when I transform into a beautiful dragonfly, I'm going to come back and I'm going to tell you all that I'm okay. And I read it, I was like, oh my goodness. And anyway, it's the most beautiful poem. The end of the poem, the water beetle transforms and he's out of the water and he's so happy and he's so joyful. And in the poem, he's like, he realizes he can't go back into the water, but he's happy, he's free, he's joyful. And for me, I was in the depths of grief, and it was so painful, but that gave me hope to be like, that was David's way of saying, I can't show you, Ciara, in this physical world, right now. Like, and that's all I wanted was his physical presence, his physical touch. But I suppose I knew I couldn't have that then. So this just gave me, and I was like, oh my God, David's with us. David's going to help us. David's going to help us find him. David's guiding us. And after that, yeah. And I suppose that's what kind of gave me hope to be like in the depths of it, because it was when you're in the depths of grief, like it's just, you just have to feel and go with all those feelings and all those waves. But within it, I had been given a little bit of hope, and I'd be looking for the signs or praying to David or praying to someone. And I suppose, he just showed us, and in the book, and I suppose at that time, we were up against every single odd possible. So his drowning accident happened in June, and we searched from 2017. Yeah. So we searched from June 2017 to September. And when
Mm.
September came, we were told we would have to leave the lake, and we were told that we would have to stop searching. Now, in that time, we had search dogs, we had robots under the water, we had the beautiful couple from Idaho, we had people just randomly drive from Calgary, come up from Vancouver, which was 7 hours away, 5, 6 hours, to come to help us. Like, we had such support, but
Thank
unfortunately,
you
they
so
said,
much.
yeah. Unfortunately, they said you're going to have to leave. They said the conditions where we were, was in a place just called Golden, and the weather was about to get really, really cold, and the lake was actually going to turn to ice.
Mm.
So it wasn't even that we were told to go. It was getting to the point that we wouldn't even be able to drive down the road to the lake. Um,
Mm.
so anyway, it was very heartbreaking news to get, but we had to went back to Ireland. But we were told the only option we had was to return the following April, which was, I think, nearly 10 months later.
Oh,
When the lake was starting to melt, and to do our search then as the lake was melting, and to bring back like the search crew we had. But we were told by the services in Australia, because obviously, like David's parents, my parents, we'd lots of family that came over, but we were all from Ireland, like, and we've beautiful lakes here, but this was something none of us were familiar. We'd helicopters as well looking over the water. So we were told by all the services, most of them, that said, going to find him, like, ye are up against every single odd possible. And I remember being like, no, no. And I was in the
you were going
deficit.
to find
Yeah. But I was like,
him.
we are going to find him.
Mm.
And I honest to God, not once did I think, I wasn't ever going to let myself be like, we're not going to find him. And when I came back to Ireland, I suppose those months in Canada, I felt like I had a purpose, because every day we'd get up, we were on the boats, like we were very much involved
Yeah,
and active
yeah,
in the search. But coming home to Ireland, it was winter here. So I did hit quite a low when I was linked in with community mental health. I think my poor parents were like, what is that? What are we going to do with her if we don't find David? Because now I
yeah.
suppose that part of me that I said that was like, oh my God, he's okay. He's swam over to the lake, being there a week at the lake. I remember one of the search and rescue said to me, they were like, this was always a recovery, never a rescue. And even though
Oh,
I knew that deep down. But when he said the words, I actually remember, I think I just fell to the ground and I was like, oh, okay. But I suppose for me, then it let myself be like, okay, Kerry, it's just finding him now. It's just finding him now.
yeah,
So I had a lovely lady who used to come out and help me. She was a mental health worker. And I knew, I was like, no, we're going to find him. I'm going to find him. I'd hear them. I remember hearing them being like, oh my God, someone needs to help her be okay with not finding him. But I
yeah.
wasn't. When we left, we went back that April. And I
Mm.
remember coming once Christmas was awful. But once I got after Christmas, I remember having this energy being like, okay, come on, let's go. We need to get back there. We need to do what we need to do to find him. And in the meantime, it's so mad when you think about it. In the meantime, David in spirit. I suppose this is what really pushed me on, and I feel so blessed. David was giving me so many signs. Like in Ireland, I remember one day sitting at a tree. We had a beautiful tree planted for David, and I was sitting there, and this man came and sat down beside me, and he asked me, could he sing me a song? And he was just giving me loads of signs. He ended up asking me, would we go to his house and he'd play music? And then he knew my mom. My mom looked after his wife who died of cancer. And there was just
Mm.
so many things. And
Connect
yeah,
sign.
yeah. So it was like David was saying, really strongly, there was an energy of, okay, here, I can't be that physical presence. I can't be there, but I will show you energetically and my spirit. And I put it in my book about this person who I would have knew, not well, but was in my circle, came to me one night. I think it was just before Christmas. And they're like, Ciara, we need to tell you something. And I remember being like, oh my God, what the hell? But I just knew. And I've always been intuitive. I knew whatever they had to tell me was big. They were like, David's been coming to me in spirit and he's been
Mm.
giving me signs. And I remember being like, oh my God, I couldn't. And if this person isn't a medium, like if you met, like they don't work in any of this, they're
Oh,
completely, it took me completely off. I was like, what? And they
did
go,
you?
we I knew them. They were in my circle, but I wouldn't have been
Yeah,
close friends with them. But they were
yeah,
kind of, yeah, they were kind of in the outside of the circle.
uh,
But
yeah. And
anyway,
David is coming to
yeah,
them.
yeah.
Yeah.
They gave me a
Okay.
message. And I remember they said they had written down, and they were like, we're going to give you this message, and it's up to you what you do. And I remember reading it, and it was on a piece of paper, and it was something they could have never known. Nobody could have ever known, bar me and David. And I remember being like, oh my goodness. And there was a lot of within that message, it was a lot of Ciara, like you're going to be okay. You might know right now, but you're going to be okay. So anyway, then me and this person formed a really amazing bond. And it was like, I remember one day I was at the side of the road and it was just before we went back the second time. And I was at the side of the road and it was raining. And I remember being like, I was driving, apologies, I was driving and it was really raining. And I remember being like, oh, I wish I wasn't here. I can't do this. And there was this big lorry and I was like, oh, if I just even just hit into the lorry, wouldn't have to feel this pain. But anyway, I didn't. I pulled in the side of the road, but that person rang me and they were like, David said to ring you. David said we have to ring you. David said you're not okay. And I remember being like, oh my God, nobody knew where I was. That was very much my own moment. And I was,
For you.
yeah.
Yeah. Mm,
So he was
mm,
really making it clear that
yeah.
I got you. Um,
Um,
and then we went back then that April. And again, everyone was trying to prep me for prepping me for, you know, being okay if we don't find them. But I was like, we're gonna. And I understand, I completely get where they're coming from because the world we live in is very much, oh, logical and, like what you take what you see for granted. But I was like,
that's
no,
right.
we're going to
It
find
makes
them.
sense to
Yeah,
us.
it
It seems
didn't make,
to.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm,
It seemed like
mm,
yeah. But anyway, we went back and I at this stage, because David was giving me the signs, someone else had given me a deck of angel cards. So it was like I was really being put on this little path of
mm.
something bigger. There's something bigger. Like, look at David in spirit now, giving you all these signs. Like years ago, I would have been like, what the hell? But anyway, I remember pulling cards, and the night before we found them, I remember, so we'd only been back, I think, not that long this time, and the lake was completely ice. So it was
Yeah.
completely ice. So it was completely different. But again, we had this energy. We were like, no, come on. And I remember pulling an angel card and I remember just having this, no, we are going to find them. And the next day we
Mm,
were at the lake and it wasn't going well. We searched dogs there and we were all a bit frustrated. So we decided to take ourselves off for a spin. And I remember I kept seeing 222 that day. And I kept telling my sister, I was like, keep seeing 222. I keep seeing 222. And anyway, we
yeah.
took ourselves off for a spin. And as we were coming back, we were literally driving over the bridge. It happened. And one of the dog rescue handlers was just standing there and he kind of put his hand up and was like that. And to be honest, we all kind of thought, oh, he's telling us they have to leave or they have to finish the
Yeah.
rescue. Honestly, I think that's what we thought. And he actually said, he was like, we think we found David. I honestly remember we all got out of the car and I remember it's like my body was like, I don't know, like that hope and that strength that I had. And I was like, oh, and it was like all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, oh my God. It was like,
Yeah.
yeah, really
Mm,
hard feeling. But anyway,
mm.
I remember being like, okay, we have to go down. And my sister came
Oh,
with me. And
it's
yeah,
hard. Like it's you longed
yeah.
for so long, but it would have just been
Oh,
so hard. Mm,
oh, yeah. And walking down, it felt like the longest walk. And I suppose even though it was a lake, it was completely ice.
mm,
So we were walking, and I suppose that was what, nearly 10 months later. And there was still parts of me that was quite naive, being like, oh my God, he's going to look like himself. Like, do you know?
Yeah. So
And
long.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And all I had thought those few months was, we're going to find him, we're going to find him. I hadn't kind of thought, what's this going to look like? Like, you know, or like, what's going to happen after this? But we went
Yeah.
down and they literally, he was just kind of under a piece of tarp. And I remember them kind of being like, are you sure you want to see this? And I was like, no, I needed to, I honest to God needed to. And they kind of opened the tarp and I was like, all right, okay. Do you know, like it was, you know, that part of me that was like, oh, maybe I'll know it's David or whatever. But still, it was like, it was really sad, but it was also this like, oh my God, we found him. So it was like all these
Yeah.
conflict. And I remember just kind of sitting, yeah,
Yeah.
just sitting
Comfort,
beside him.
but horror at
Yeah,
the same time.
yeah.
Yeah.
And just sitting beside him then on the ice and being like, oh, like, and
Oh,
yeah, it was, yeah. So then,
um,
yeah,
10 months later,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
just incredible.
yeah. And against
And,
every single odd possible. And
yeah.
I had
And
his
he,
clothes for his
mm,
funeral. I had them before I left. I had bought them and I had them left on my bed, literally ready to go.
what did you have? What was it?
uh, the clothes that I was going to wear to his funeral.
Oh,
Yeah, I
yeah.
had, I
For
was like,
you.
no, I was like, I'm gonna be ready. And yeah. And I suppose like we were so blessed, like, and we got to bring him home to Ireland and we got to have a funeral. So it was like I was so aware like that we were beyond blessed because I couldn't
Yeah.
imagine, I don't think I'd be where I am right now without
No.
having that kind of closure because there'd always be a part of me that'd be like, oh, we need to
Wondering.
find him. We have to.
Yeah.
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 So,
So he knew that you needed his physical
yeah.
body,
Yes.
which is,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the whole process, you discovered that there was so much more than this material life.
Yeah.
Like he gave you the gift of totally
Yeah.
opening up your
Yeah.
perception,
Yeah. Yeah.
awareness.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah. And so all of that's in the book plus.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the way I have the book done is, and I suppose this was my life, it was like, I remember being like, when it happened, I remember being like, I can't, like, I can't do this. And after we found him, even though
Mm,
like that's all we wanted, I kind of went on like a kind of another little downward little twist for a while. And I
yeah.
was like, because I felt like I had no purpose. I was like, what now? Like, what the hell am I going to do now? I honestly was like, oh my goodness. And
Yeah. Would have felt
Canada was gone. Yeah, I was back living at home with my parents and I was back in Ireland. And I honestly was like, what the absolute hell am I going to do now? But I suppose that's where I've been so blessed. And that's where I felt really called to write the book because actually, if anything, David in spirit, the energy of David got even stronger after we found him. So for
hmm
me, I always think like the first stage was like Operation One, like find David. And then for
yeah.
me, after finding him, it was like Operation Two. It was like, you need to find who the hell you are now. Who are you like? And in one
Yes.
thing, and I always see this with anyone who goes through anything difficult or traumatic, and it doesn't have to be something big, just something that impacts us and makes us question, like, well, who am I? And you know, like, who do I want to be in this world? So I suppose I kept getting these messages from David being like, you're still here. You need to keep going. You need to. And I remember like there was a while there, I was like, will you feck off? Like you've pissed off now and left me here. And like, you know, we had been together 10 years. So we've
Yeah.
been together since we
We
were
were like
17.
child
Yeah,
had
we
sweet,
were.
child
Yeah.
sweet.
And yeah, and I was like, oh my God, I was supposed, so a part of me felt like, oh, even being a mom and like having a family and getting married, I kind of felt like there was like so many secondary losses. But David just
Respect.
kept going. Yeah. He kept going, being like, no, come on, and just putting the right people in my path. And I actually remember going to a lady for Reiki and I had never done Reiki before. But afterwards, I remember being like, I didn't understand at the time chakras, or she was talking all the stuff. And I was like, I don't have a clue what the hell she's saying, but I knew, I was like, that has helped me. That has helped me. So I kept going back to her. Yeah, and it's amazing. And I suppose I see it now myself. Like, when you meet someone and there's so much potential. That lady and another lady who I met, was like they were like two little teachers who were sent to me. That's what I say in the book. And one of them, I remember one day, and not that long after finding David, she said to me, she goes, "Your soul chose this." And I remember driving home being like, what, who would say that? Because everyone else is being so
Yeah.
nice to me. And just like, yeah.
Oh,
But for months and months, I pondered it. I pondered it. My soul chose this. And I was like, first of all, the Reiki was helping me understand, and David in spirit helping me understand that actually I might have this physical body, but I have a soul. And I suppose before that, I was very much, oh no, you're here, you do this, this is all. And it was like I was on this little journey. And the Reiki lady then I was going for, she was like, told me, you need to do your Reiki level 1. So I did my Reiki level 1. And after I did that, I just remember I felt like something had opened within me. And I just was like, no, I'm gonna be okay. Like, I'm gonna be so okay. And then I suppose what that lady had said, it was like an awareness opened within me. And I was like, no, my soul did choose this. I chose this, just like David's soul has chose it. And that's when, and at that stage, a book was not on the cards. I was never ever writing a book, like, but it was when I kind of started to be like, oh my God, I'm a soul. I was like waking up like, I've got a soul, even though I knew I had a soul, or, like soulful music, but it was like this real kind of, oh, like,
aware.
yeah. And then I could see the benefit of Reiki, and I was kind of practicing on my family and stuff. And then for me, it was the mindset, which I really got invested in. I was like watching YouTubes all the time about how your mind is the most powerful tool you'll have. And I remember thinking about like me, I remember sitting down being like, okay, where's my mind at? When I sat down, my biggest mindset thing was, I'm never going to get over this. I'm always going to be stuck. I'm never going to live my life. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, that's going to be true. Like, and to be fair, like, I was well, it was only normal to have those thoughts. But I
Yeah.
suppose if I wanted to actually feel joy, and at the time I remember being like, I just would like to feel a bit of joy. And, I was doing well. I had gone back to work, but I very much felt like I was just surviving, was just ticking boxes. So anyone on the outside looking in be like, oh, she's gone back to work. Isn't she great? Like, but I didn't have, yeah, I was just doing, yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Um, so I started really working with like affirmations and Reiki, and I'd be like, I'm joyful, I feel joy. And in the beginning, I felt like an off lead. I was like, oh, but I kept going, and I was like walking, and I was like eating healthy. I had put on like 4.5 stone, and I had been put on antidepressants, but I remember being like, no, I don't need those anymore. So I kind of just, it was a very kind of quick shift, but it wasn't really, when you think about, I suppose, David guiding me, and but within a few months I was like, oh my God, I remember looking back being like, who's this person? I remember going to work one day and I felt, I just was, I can't remember what I was looking at. It was something in nature, it was something so simple. And I remember being like, oh, I feel a bit of joy. And I was like, oh my God. And but I suppose,
Mm. It
sorry,
was
yeah,
wonderful that
yeah,
you got to that point, and that was because you also got a podcast out, which is
yes,
about
yeah,
the the
yeah,
mindset and less
yes,
full,
yeah,
create those
yeah,
messages, so you were
yes,
able to
yeah,
transform your
yeah,
whole state
yes,
of being in a
yes,
few months.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. And for me, I suppose, do you know the term like spiritual awakening? I always think for
Oh,
me, it was like a remembrance. It was like remembering that you're part of something bigger, remembering that you chose, this and you chose to be here. And, it wasn't all love and light. There was still feelings of grief and stuff there, but instead of being like, when it came, being like, oh, I can't do this, it was like honoring that, no, this is a part of it. And I suppose a really big awareness that you've got to feel your feelings in order to heal them instead of just kind of just pushing them away. So
yeah.
yeah, it was really, really exciting then because I got this message then. It was like, you need to write a book. And I remember being
Mm.
like, no way. And in school, I wouldn't have been good at English. Like I wasn't an academic type. And it kept being like, you need to write this book. And I suppose there was something in me that, and I think I said it to you literally before we came on here, that I feel kind of like a sadness sometimes when I see people who are in the depths of grief. And that's, definitely a stage. But when they stay there and they live their whole life and they're still, in the depths of it, it actually makes me feel really sad. Because I always felt like David's message for me was like, Ciara, like I'm here. I've chosen to leave at this time, but you're still here and you need to live your life. And I always felt like his message to me was like, if you just stay stuck and don't live, you're doing me a disservice also where I am. Like, do it for me, do it for you, most importantly, but also do it to honor me. And I suppose
And
that's
honor the
why,
gift that
yeah,
he gave you. Yeah.
yeah, 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 and share it with others. So
Mm.
then a book came. I remember being like, how the hell are we going to do this? And I remember being like, because I kind of got into, I'd understood then our mind is a powerful thing. I'd understood how energy works and like look at David connecting with me. And it was like, no, if I commit and say I will write this book, but you need to help me and make sure, I was like, I'm going to meet all the right people. And literally it was actually a very quick process within like, I think, was it less than a year? Somehow I had met
Oh.
all the right people and then there was a book and I was like, okay.
Mhm.
But also I think writing the book was for me as well. Because like when
Yeah.
I had to write it, like I wrote this probably, I don't know how many edits, but when I first started writing it, I remember just tears just
Mm.
coming. And like
So it was
that
very,
happened a lot. And
yeah.
yeah, it was very, what's the word? Categoric. I can't say it. Categoric. That's it. Yeah, yeah,
When
yeah.
did you write it? When did you first release it? How many years after David's death?
Only three.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was published in November 2020.
Mm.
Was yeah, November 2020. And it was only the summer before I was actually went to Melbourne and I went to Vietnam. And it was when I got there, I was in Melbourne and I remember I was like, no, I can do this. And sometimes I think they have to take you away and you have to be put somewhere else. And I was on holiday, so I was very much just in this state of flow. And I was like, okay. And I came home and I just wrote and wrote and wrote. And then it was a book. It was all, yeah. But I always think like sometimes I would have woken up at like 3 or 4 in the morning and I would have just heard what was wanted to be put on the page. And I remember being like, please let me sleep. I promise, I promise you I'll write it tomorrow.
Kind of like David was telling you what
Yeah,
to put in.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. And I
Mm.
always remembered, like it never left. Like, so if I woke up the next day and I'd always remember, and like, even things, even the cover, it was very clear. It'd be like, no, we don't want that. Or like, even like the dragonfly, I suppose is very symbolic of my journey, all the colors. And then, but just the light, I suppose that the darkness, because when I was in the depths of it, it was really not a nice place to be. But I suppose for me, I felt like I dropped into it. I let myself be there. And then it was like the light just started to come out. And then it was like, you can't not have this experience and not share it with other people. Like, that's just not, you can't do that.
Right.
So it was like a book. I was like, help me. And they did. And yeah, and I suppose then my life, like,
Mm.
changed, you know.
Yeah. So now you're an author and you're a podcaster and you're spreading this message of
Yeah,
hope.
yeah,
And I was
yeah,
telling you before as well, I loved how you said it's so good now. You feel like you're living with the essence
yeah,
of the
yeah,
word
yeah,
and that love rather than the
yeah.
ongoing, you'll never get over it
Mm,
grief. So
yes,
it's like, I think it's so important. Like, I've lost my sister 3 years ago. So, and I feel that
yeah,
so many people have lost people. My husband lost his
yes, yeah.
brother, and
Mm,
family struggles to
yes, yeah.
rebuild life. Friends
Yeah,
struggle. How do you go on?
yes, yeah,
And some people feel guilty about experiencing joy, don't they, when they've
yeah,
lost someone?
yeah.
But like similar to you,
Mm,
I felt such immense meaning and purpose with my
yeah,
sister's passing. Yeah.
yeah,
And it just has encouraged me to do so much more and appreciate life and the gift that life is.
mm,
Yeah. What would you say to anyone that's struggling right now, like, and finding it hard to get to that place of
yeah,
living with essence rather than grief?
yeah.
Mm.
I suppose help making sure you have the right supports. Like, there's no way I'd be here right now without the support I had. I tried everything,
Mm.
counseling, Reiki, like that. I had community mental health support. And I suppose finding the support that feels right for you. And it could be as simple as talking to your family, your friends, but making sure, because like grief is a deep, dark place. Like, and I don't know about like Australia, but sometimes here in Ireland, like it can make people really uncomfortable, and it's nearly like easier to be like, oh, they're doing grand, they're doing grand. So sometimes
We're a
then you
bit,
can, yeah,
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 yeah. We're a bit
yeah,
like, oh, don't ask them, just talk
yeah,
about the weather. When all the people who've
yeah,
lost someone want to do is talk about the person they've
yeah,
lost and how they've,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So don't be, do you know, like as in, I suppose that's the only way you can work through that conditioning as a society is like, do you know, if someone's like, how are you? Like, don't be afraid to be like, oh, today is, because you will definitely get something from that. And the other person, it might be uncomfortable for them, but you could massively help them as well. Because I think the world we live in, we need that. Like, we need that so much more, people actually being open and saying, this is how I feel. And I suppose grief
Mm,
isn't just for losing someone. There's lots of stuff going on in the world right now, and the world needs, for me, I suppose I felt like grief opened my heart up even more, but it was only through feeling those really deep, dark
mm,
feelings, and letting people support me as well. um
yeah.
so yeah, definitely getting the support and asking. I suppose a big one for me is like asking your loved ones in spirit. And I suppose that's not everyone's thing, but I did after I did a few grief workshops. And I remember like asking people, I was like, do you ask them to help you? And they're like, no. And I'm like, they can, but they can. For me, and this is only from connecting with David, like our loved ones, sometimes they can do way more where they are than when they were here, because it's our physical body that holds all the pain. So when they leave their body, they're essentially quite free. They obviously can't, like, if you're like, send me 100,000 euro or whatever. But like, like, well, who knows? But like, if it's
Oh,
like, please, yeah, yeah, please give me strength, or, they definitely can. And yeah, I've heard some remarkable things, and like even like as in people, when I did some workshops, like I remember a lady who lost her husband, and she lost her husband, and her daughter had applied to go to college, but she hadn't got the exact number of points that she needed. And she kept praying to her husband, being like, please, please help her get in, please. And she ended up getting a place without getting the points. She got accommodation, everything got sorted. And she was like, I don't care what anyone says. I know that was him
yeah,
helping me. Yeah. And I
yeah.
feel like I've really experienced that as well, that like they can, but you have to talk to them and like, ask them,
Yeah, you have to make the
Yeah.
connection
Yes. Yeah.
to reach out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I just think it's so incredible to have this superpower or angel on the other
Yeah.
side.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just brilliant. And I know, yeah, since my sister passed, I feel
Yeah.
like I've definitely got extra insight on the other side of the veil.
Yes.
And her symbol is
Yeah.
like the little ladybug, the little red beetle with the
Okay.
black
Yeah. Yeah.
spots on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know other people have, I've got a friend and her father's symbol is a bird, a specific bird that she'll
Okay.
see.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
just know it.
Wow.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
other signs people told you that they've had from the other side that they know their
Oh,
loved ones?
yeah. So I must share this. This is mad. So I feel like when I wrote my book, afterwards, I kind of started doing a bit of one-to-one work and group work. And
Mm.
it was really weird. It was like David was like up there in spirit, being like getting people to come. Like I had people coming to me who said used to dream about they had a dream about having a session and they didn't really know me, but it was in the dream. And then they came. And I remember one day I was in it was only last year, I was in Castlebar where I work, where I was living, and I was walking up the town. And I was just, before I left the house, I had this jumper on. And just as I got to the front door, something told me go and change. So I went right back up and I put this other jumper on. And then I went for a walk. And I normally go one way, but something told me go another way. And as I was walking, I met this lady who I wouldn't really know well, but I had heard that her mother had passed away only about 4 or 5 days ago. And it was like I felt this, I don't know, it was like a pull. And next
Mhm.
thing, I was over beside her giving her a hug. And I remember being like, oh my God, what the hell? And I
Yeah.
gave her a hug and I was like, and I remember the mind part of me was like, no, that's not something I'd kind of wave from a distance. But then I gave her a hug and that was fine. And I just said, thinking off, yeah. And then I just kept walking. I remember being like, she probably thinks I'm so weird. But anyway, I had a voice message from her. And I remember being like, oh, I wonder why she's sending me a voice message. She goes, in the voice message, she said, sorry, Ciara. She said, if you thought I was a bit strange when I was talking to her, something along that line. But the jumper you had on was my mom's favorite jumper. And I was like, I actually was walking and I had full body shivers. And I sent a voice message back. I said, you are not going to believe this. But I said, I did not have that jumper on. I got to the front door and something told me to go back up. So I suppose for me, I do feel like our loved ones, like she was like, I really needed that. And the same lady, a few weeks later, I was at another thing and another lady, it was really weird. Another lady started talking about her mother, but never told me it was her mother. I've never met her mother ever. And she was on
Mm.
about a scarf. And I remember being like, I have to tell her. And like literally she was like to me, she goes, you don't realize how much I need to hear this. So for me, it was like her mom in spirit was like, she needs this. And like that was only a few days after. But like really weird.
Her mum was talking to you.
Yeah. It wasn't even like talking, like I never seen her mom or like I wouldn't see anyone. It was just my own thing being like, go change your jumper. But then when I met her
Yeah.
and then afterwards, I was like, oh, they're using me as a way to show her
Yeah.
that we're here. We've got, yeah, that bit of comfort or that bit of hope.
And
Um,
so the spirit uses us all the
yeah,
time. I
yeah,
often say when you think you're being like pulled into a detour or you're put in a
mm,
place you don't want to
yeah,
be, just
yeah,
look around because maybe you're there for
yeah,
someone else. It's not always
yeah, yeah,
about us. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
That was
had
a
something.
direct
Yeah,
example.
that was really, yeah. I had some really beautiful experiences happen in Australia, actually, like signs like that showing you that like that, things might happen that mightn't be ideal, but it might be exactly what you need. I sprained my ankle, and on the way home from A&E, me and
Wow.
my friend were in an Uber, and the Uber turned around and he looked me dead in the eye. And he was like, God is protecting you from something. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, what the hell? So then, anyway, he said something to my friend. She kind of had stuff going on, and he literally was spot on, but he was the nicest man. And he kept sharing his life experience. He said that he had done loads of training. He'd done loads of training courses, but he could never get the job. But he said, I'll get the job at the right time. I'll get the job at the right time. And then he had told us he had just got a job, that he was the only person in, I think, Melbourne who could do that job because of all the courses he had done. And he was waiting for up to, I think it was like 4 or 5 years. But he said, I was always patient. I always trusted. But just goes to show, he was like, it was never my time then, whereas now is my time. And things happen. And even that, I sprained my ankle. And I remember asking, because I suppose once you understand this, I very much use this way of living to help your life be easier. And when I sprained my ankle, I was like, right, send me someone who's going to tell me who's going to tell me about a really good physio. And I remember my friend in Melbourne be like, just Google it, will you? Like, look it up, like, come on. And I was like, no, no, no. And I knew, I used my mind. I said, no, I'm going to meet someone randomly who's going to tell me about really good physio. And I was sitting at the bus stop one day in Yarra, can't remember the name, South Yarra. And this lady sat beside me. She goes, do you know what you need? And I was like, what? She goes, you need a really good physio. And I started laughing. I said, I've been asking. I knew they were going to send someone. And she was like, I'll do one better. She goes, I'll show you where the physio is. It was literally just around the corner. And she kind of I hoppled with her, and he was
Yeah.
closed. But I ended up booking him, and he was amazing. Do you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it just makes
Yeah.
life freer, I think, when you know, obviously you've to take the divine action, but when you understand, you can kind of say, okay, today you can kind of put your intention out there, or you
Yeah.
can kind of, if then you want to call in, or something you want to feel, be like, no, I'm willing to let this go now. And then it's like, I suppose we learned all about the flow, didn't we? There, do you know about being in the flow of energy and receiving it?
Not having everything planned out, but just being
Yeah,
present. And then
yeah,
you're also talking
yes.
about like manifestation, like calling in what you want, and then
Mm,
just not worrying about how it
yeah.
will get to you. Yeah, and it
Yes,
makes
yeah.
life exciting, doesn't it? I'm a
Yeah,
bit
it
like
is.
you. I go down like
Yeah,
555 number
yeah,
plate. Woohoo!
yeah,
555
yeah,
on my phone. Oh, I feel so good today. It means something.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
all
yeah.
lining up.
Yes,
And
yeah, yeah.
people think I'm crazy, but I think once you know, you know. Once
Mm,
you feel
yes,
that flow
yeah.
of energy
Mm,
and the magic of life,
yes,
it
yeah,
just keeps happening. And even
yeah,
when you're in the midst of, like, I was homeless and, we've lost our jobs. And in the midst of all of that, I just had such joy. It was one of the best times of my life, which
that's
sounds
amazing.
crazy.
Yeah, that's,
I
yeah,
just played that. It's kind of a game, like
yeah,
just going with the flow. And
yeah,
yeah, letting life be a teacher rather than seeing everything as, why did this happen? Why am I being punished? Why did I lose this person? It's more like, what is the reason, or what is the meaning, and what is the gift? Yeah.
yes, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And choice, I think for me, and I did a talk there a few weeks ago in Ireland, and it's about the choice, even there where you said, you were in the depths of it, like, no job, homeless, but you were still choosing to see and feel the joy. And I suppose for me, on anything in my journey, it's like, no, choosing to actually honor, no, I'm here, like, I deserve to live a good life. I deserve to, not be defined by something that has happened in my
Yeah.
life, because things happen, and for me, like, it's made anything that has made me who I am, and it's helped me kind of unlearn a lot of conditioning and beliefs that just weren't really helping things.
You're just such a shining beacon of
I
light
know.
and hope. Even looking
Oh,
at you,
how are you?
like,
Oh,
you are like the
yeah.
dragonfly with light
Oh,
emanating.
good one. Yeah, yeah.
Uh, I think
Yeah.
everybody should at least download, because they can now, your podcast, or
Yes,
plug
yeah.
into,
Yes, yeah.
and that is Mind.Less.Full. Is that right? I know
Mindless.
I've got it on
Yeah,
Spotify.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I'll put a link below. And also, I can't wait to get your book. I was like, oh, why haven't you got it on Kindle so I can read it straight
Yeah,
away?
I know. I must actually get on them. No, it really is. There's a bit of magic. I suppose it's an honest reflection of how you'd feel in grief. So I think, especially if someone's really feeling heavy, I think even if you read it and you cry, even if you think you're crying for me, you're still releasing something for yourself because,
Yeah.
but then it kind of, yeah, I think I've heard like one lady told me that she was in the library and she was going to buy a book by like some professor of grief and she was going to get it and then my book just went and fell off the thing.
That when a book falls out in front of you.
Yeah. She was like, I needed
Uh,
it. I was like, oh, I do think that. And I've put the intention on it. I'm like, whoever this book is supposed to find will find. And it's actually so random. It's actually called Miracles Appear When Loved Ones Are Near. And there, you'll probably understand this, but there about 18 months ago, I was like sitting in kind of quiet time and I kept getting this message, you need to change the title. And I was like, oh, I can't. Like, I was like, I actually can't. Like that mind part of me was like, no, who does that now? You can't. But anyway, it wouldn't go away. So I messaged my publishers and I was like, listen, I know this might sound off the wall. I said, but we have to change the title. And at the time, he was kind of like, oh, we'll chat about it again. But there, about a week ago, I kept getting the message and I sent him a message. I said, listen, like, can we change the title? And he was like, yeah, no bother. He was like, we just have to wait until the books with this title have kind of gone, but the title would be Paradise. And paradise was David's last words. So as he
oh,
was looking out onto the lake before he
yes.
jumped in, he turned to his friend and he said, this place is paradise. But I feel like now that was his way of talking about his eternal, like he knew his soul, it was leaving his physical body because he never used the word paradise. Like it
That
wasn't,
was a,
yeah.
yeah. Like you had
So
a premonition
yeah.
thing.
And he looked out and was like, this place is
Gives
paradise.
me
I
goosebumps.
know I
Like,
have
oh,
them
got
too.
like
Yeah.
welling up tears and goosebumps the whole time
Yeah.
I'm talking.
Yeah.
So you're going to
No.
change the title of the book to
Yeah.
Paradise.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And then that
Yeah.
will bring in all other people that are meant to read the book. Mm.
Yeah. 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 So, and like that, it might make no sense because it doesn't make sense for me to do that, but it's like, it's none of my business. Like if I'm getting a message and it's quite
Yeah.
strong, I need to trust that and just sure.
It
Yeah.
will all make
Yeah.
sense eventually.
Yeah. But I'll have to, I will put previously, so look, people aren't buying the
Yeah.
same book, thinking it's my next book because I am writing another one currently. So
Oh,
yeah.
are you?
Yes.
Ooh,
Yeah.
good. When's
Yeah.
that one coming out? Are you still in the creation
I'm,
stage?
yeah, still in the creation stage, yeah. But
Um,
hopefully soon. Yeah.
oh, that's so exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Thank
I know
you.
there's a few people watching, and I'm sure if they've got any questions, they can type them in, and
Yes.
Ciara will
Yeah.
respond
Yeah.
later.
Yes, I will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'll pop this on to YouTube and Spotify as
Yeah.
part of the White Owl podcast. And yes, is there anything you would like to add before you go? Any message for anybody watching, or
Yeah, I suppose, you'll probably, like I can very much speak about what has happened and even the last few years, like if this was a few years ago, I would have struggled and there would have been kind of lots of tears or whatever. So I suppose for me, it's a really big acceptance of, this was part of my journey here. So I suppose for anyone listening who is kind of going through grief or loss, just to know that, things do change, and that you deserve to heal, and that, feel and let yourself feel all those beautiful feelings. But know that for me, love doesn't die. Like, like our loved ones might leave in their physical body, but the love that can never die, and that love
No.
will stay there. And only, if anything, look at this experience. Like David has nearly showed me how powerful that love is, because he made sure that I was not just gonna just survive here or kind of be like, oh, what's the point? He was like, no, I'm gonna make sure you live a good life. So now I do be laughing. I'm like, David, where's my husband? I'm ready. And I've known that. Send me the man, David. But I know that he will come. He will come at the right time. I know that.
Oh, I'm sure you will. You
Yeah, we are so ready now.
If anybody wants to contact Ciara.
Slide into my DMs, Lord. Could you imagine? Nothing would surprise me, to be honest.
Oh, wow. Yes, I think your future's just going to be amazing. So please keep in touch. And I'm going to share this as wide as I can and send more people your way to inspire. So thank you.
And you're amazing, and thank you for all that you do as well. And I'm sure everyone who listens to your podcast will agree. And I see you've got a load of retreats and you've lots of exciting things going on.
Yes. Yeah, this has been 2025 has been an amazing year. Wow. So that's what I said. Next year, Ireland, here I come.
Yeah. We'll bring you to all this special things here.